Hurricane Milton coverage continues as folks in Florida are really bracing for severe damage this morning. We are going now to Apollo Beach, Florida, where Bryce Sheely has a first-hand account of Milton passing through. Now, you're kind of like north. Oh, we see you here. I thought we lost power, but you're back up. That's good.
Yeah.
Kind of just tell me what you saw, because it's hard to imagine if you haven't been in a hurricane what it feels like. Did your house shake? I remember being in a hurricane once. My house shook. What did you see as this storm was approaching, and then once it made landfall close to you?
Yeah, so right now I'm in Apollo Beach.
Okay.
In Apollo Beach, I'm in a apartment complex with my sister right now, actually. And as power went out, we just felt trees banging up against our windows. As the storm was coming in closer, we felt some of the palm trees around here beginning to crack and shake. So a lot of times we were worried that these trees were about to come crashing down into the apartment. I know that one of these places around here had a palm tree actually crash into an apartment here, broke the glass, water entered into their apartment. They were lucky, though, that a maintenance team was still out here at the apartment complex, so they were able to get the tree out from there around like 4 o'clock in the morning. But not a lot of people are as lucky as that.
Bryce, where are you exactly in your home right now?
I'm actually outside.
I thought you were.
This is practically the only place where I can get good lighting out here.
Okay.
I've got a flashlight set up, and there's a battery-powered key fob machine here that's providing just about the only light I've got. The only good news is that it's almost break of day right now, so we're about to have light here in probably about like 20 minutes.
Right. I mean, you kind of described some of the things that happened. I mean, it's dark right now, but you said the sun's about to come up. What are you seeing as you're sitting outside? Have you seen any emergency personnel?
A lot of debris. A lot of debris. The one bad thing about this apartment complex is that it's a fairly new development, so there's a lot of saplings everywhere. There's a lot of signage that's been blown down. So practically none of the trees that were smaller survived. They've either been cracked down to the ground or they were uprooted completely. As far as the condition of the apartment complex, that remains to be seen. But I can tell you right now, the road is just completely filled with debris around here.
So it would be hard for emergency crews just to get down your road then, if there was someone.
Incredibly. Yeah, I haven't even, our apartment complex is right near US Highway 41 and 75. So I haven't even seen the state of that roadway right now, but I was out in Bradenton last night prior to the storm hitting. And I could already tell you, even before the hurricane hit, those roadways and those shoulders were almost completely flooded. So as far as what they look like right now, I can only imagine that they're even worse than that.
Can you kind of compare the two, Helene and now Milton, in terms of, I know it's still kind of early because the sun's not up in terms of damage, but also as the hurricane was coming in, could you kind of compare the severities or how you felt between those two hurricanes?
Severity-wise, this one was way worse. You had a lot more to deal with as far as wind and rain and flooding was concerned. Helene, a lot of that damage was due to heavy winds, of course, but also storm surge along the Gulf Coast. But as of right now, we've got way more destruction than Helene, as well as the tornadoes that have been ripping through the state as well. That's also a major cause for concern. But around here, what's worse about it is that Helene made it really exacerbated the situation where crews really couldn't come out and clean up the debris, as everyone is fully aware of, that they couldn't come out and clean up after the fact. So you've got couches and furniture and random pieces of garbage that are just sitting on the side of the road. And as these 100-mile-an-hour winds kept ripping through around the coastline, it just picked up that debris and used it as projectiles. So where one hurricane ended, it just made this one even more worse, where maybe some of the damage that was caused by this one may not have happened if the other one hadn't come along.
And I take it you and your sister are both okay, right?
Yes, we're both okay. My family is all over the Bay Area, so as far as I know, they're okay. My brother's a firefighter in Manatee County, so he was in Bradenton in that area when the storm hit, which is right around where the eye was, the KEYE in Sarasota. So I haven't been able to get in contact with him yet, but I'm pretty sure he's all right.
Well, Bryce, thank you so much for talking with us this morning.
Absolutely. Thank you, guys.
Our Hurricane Milton coverage continues as we go back now to Apollo Beach, Florida, where we talked to Bryce Sheely earlier. Of course, he had a first-hand account of Milton passing through, and you were outside before, and you're outside right now. And I'm looking at what looks like you're our eyes on the street right now, Bryce. What is that behind you? It looks like obviously some damage.
Yeah, it's a used car dealership out by Sarasota. I had stopped going out here because my uncle. One of my uncles has a place over in Englewood, so I'm going over there to check on it now. But on the road, I just stopped by and saw this used car dealership had a roof that was completely torn down on it. Some of the cars got damaged along the way here as well. But getting here was a struggle in and of itself. Pretty much every single traffic light and turn signal is down. So you've got people on the road out here just kind of making their own rules right now, turning whenever they want, going whenever they want. So even though there's no hurricane right now, driving is still a little bit hazardous because there's just no rhyme or reason to the way that people are going.
Now, we see that damage behind you. Is that kind of like an example of what you're seeing across the board? I know that you mentioned that was a car dealership, and are you seeing a similar situation since you've been able to get out and actually move around?
Yeah, the damage is very sporadic. There's areas where you can see practically no damage at all, and then just a block over, it's completely leveled. There's street lamps are in the road. There's trees that have been felled that are down on the road as well. So you already have workers out here doing what they can and clearing out some of the debris, but it's really kind of dramatic seeing the disparity between areas that got the highest winds where you can look right across the street and there's no damage at all. And then you can look over here where, a roof has fallen on cars and it's probably going to take them weeks, if not months, to get this thing repaired.
And you may not know this. It looks like that place may have been boarded up. You don't know if anyone was injured or anything like that. It's just kind of sitting.
Not that I know of, no. It just kind of looks like they were sitting, but doesn't look like they had any time to get most of these cars out of the way, as a lot of other dealerships had. So,
what about, you said that emergency personnel, because that's the big question. There's so much debris on the road that it could be problematic for emergency crews, but you have been seeing crews, or have you not been seeing crews on the road, emergency personnel?
I have. There's been police officers on the road directing traffic where they can. Obviously, there's not enough personnel out to be able to do that all across the area, but they've been doing it in key locations where traffic is heaviest. I've seen firefighters and ambulances going down the street and taking care of people and taking care of buildings when they can, but obviously with a hurricane this big, they're stretched pretty thin as is.
Just kind of give our viewers an indication of exactly where you are. You're in Apollo right now, Apollo Beach. When you think of where Milton hit, do you have any indication, any perspective of how close you are? I think you're just north of actually where some of the major damage was as well, even though there's damage all over.
Yeah, I was, when the hurricane hit, I had driven up to Apollo Beach. I was about 30 miles away from where it made landfall. I'm actually in Sarasota right now. I'm heading towards Englewood to check on a relative's house. But yeah, from where it hit, which is only 35 miles out, going northbound towards Tampa, it still caused major devastation on the road. This was pulling out of the apartment complex that I was in. There was street lights that were on the road blocking traffic going out. There was a fire on the road from one of the street bulbs that had fallen onto the ground. So even that far out, it was still incredibly catastrophic.
And I want you to give me just finally a perspective of what people are going to be dealing with afterwards. We see some street lights hanging down, so power's out. But even also things like the stores before the hurricane hit. We saw empty store shelves. People have power out. What about the water situation? What is it going to look like for the next few days for people like yourself, going forward?
It'll be tough in the areas. Most of the stores have been completely cleared out even before the hurricane hit, several days, in fact. Passing along the road, I already saw people going to Quick Marts and gas stations just trying to pick out whatever there may be left. But, I know the area will pull through after this. It's always nice to see that after a disaster like this, people are helping each other out and a little bit of decency shines through, a little bit of humility and humanity. So if there's any consolation, that's the only good thing to come out of this.
That was a wonderful way to end this interview. And thank you, Bryce, for talking to us and being really our eyes on the ground for us in that portion of Florida.
Absolutely. Thank you.